So back on August 7th, Hidden One took a clip from one of our videos where I was basically describing how one of the people within Ubisoft that I spoke with working on Black Flag Resynced was genuinely surprised when people asked, hey, none of this new content feels original. Like Lucy's sequence, Padre, all of them. It feels very, very clear that this is not from 2013. And the people that worked on the game were like surprised to hear that we didn't think it matched. They were surprised when we said it feels modern, but not in like a good way. It feels like it was written 2026. It does not feel part of the 2013 game. It's really obvious. And yeah, Jor was like, I wonder who that friend is who raised the question. Yeah, I wonder. Wink, wink. So Hidden One clipped this and just said this clip perfectly encapsulates the issue plaguing modern Ubisoft writing. When the literal writer is oblivious to how much worse the new writing is compared to the old, it shows a complete lack of quality control. Nobody internally has the authority or standards to stand up and say something isn't good enough. Exactly. And then he found this. So this is really interesting. I wanted to show it to you. I came across this old Ubisoft video from or about Studio Alice, and it explains so much as to why the writing quality and standards have completely declined from back then to now. So basically, Ubisoft back in the day during their prime era created an entire internal group to improve the quality of their writing. Writers would bring in their scripts to get another set of eyes on them and then have problems pointed out and actually be challenged when something wasn't working. Corey May in this video talks about how important it was for writers to have somewhere to go for honest feedback. He talks about when he was writing games himself, there were times where he had nobody to turn to for help or guidance, nobody to look at his work and tell him what they thought. Studio Alice was partly his attempt to give the writers the support system he wished he had. He says writers would come to him and basically say, I need your help. I would love it if I could show you my work and you could tell me what you think of it. What is said at 4:57 literally describes the current state of Ubisoft writing quality. Low-key, she kind of foreshadows today's Ubisoft. I find this so funny because watching this video after my tweet about the Ubisoft writer seemingly being oblivious to how much worse the new Black Flag Resynced writing feels compared to the old really puts things into perspective. And this is the clip in question. Check it out. This is old school Ubisoft.
I hate stupid people and lazy people.
I'm sorry. Saying that today would probably get you fired for being mean. Imagine. I hear this and my knee-jerk reaction is like, oh, I don't think HR is going to like that. You said you hate stupid people. That's really offensive to people who are differently intelligent. So you mean stupid? No, we don't use that term. It's offensive to stupid people. We use the term differently intelligent. You know, it's just... I hear this. Just hearing this little bitty thing of like, I hate stupid people. That would probably get you sent to HR today. How stupid is that? And you know I'm right. You know I'm right.
I hate stupid people and lazy people, but I love games. And I get very frustrated when I encounter people that don't feel the same way. If you don't love what you're doing, why the fuck are you doing it?
Good question.
A lot of times we'll talk to people that say, well, I want to be X, Y, and Z. I am what I want to be, right? Which is working in an industry that I have loved since I was, I don't know, 2. And this is all I want to do. Like, if this is all I ever do, I'll die happy because it's exactly where I want to be.
In Montreal?
They contacted me last January and they said, we want to increase the quality of our narrative content. And that was kind of their general statement. There's sort of 2 aspects to Alice. There's the narrative talent group, which is my group, and then there's the mocap and sort of all the kind of technical things. We kind of are a co-production unit, so we work directly with the projects, like hand in hand with them.
The writers on a project sit with the team, work with the team, are part of the team. Alice is a resource.
So it's really about getting all the resources, getting all the tools, having everything in one place.
This has to be a decade-old video. I think so. He says that it's from the golden age. Yeah, Studio Alice still exists at Ubisoft today. They work on Black Flag Resynced, but Ubisoft now describes Alice as its internal casting, audio, and motion capture team. What I can't find is whether the narrative talent group shown in this old video still exists. That's interesting. That's interesting. I don't think I mean, clearly, obviously, I don't think it exists in the same way. But I would guess this video is from like 2013, 14, 15, something like that. It's probably about a decade old.
So the team can just come and say, here's my dream, and we make it happen.
Oh, AC3.
The first thing that they do is
So if they're showing AC3, this might be more like 2012, 2013.
come to me, and we talk about defining their game.
Far Cry 3,
What is your
yeah.
game about? What is your story about? What's your level design going to be about? What's your mission design going to be about?
I think a lot of people don't realize is that stuff like mission and level and game design are, in my eyes, a narrative tool as well, right? That's another way in which story is told.
No, it's about padding gameplay time and selling skins. That too. You gotta sell skins. Yeah, so they're showing AC3 scripts. I think this is 2012, 2013 in that window.
When I build the scripts for the AC games, I will take what's known as a mission design document and literally copy paste it into the script, and then use that to build out my slug lines to define the action and then back the dialogue into that. So the script is literally grown out of mission design documents rather than vice versa.
We have a technology group that
They don't do that anymore. Tell you what, why do that when you can just have a like combat encounter and then have the characters stand in a circle like this? Problem solved, bro. You're working too hard. After all, why write the next great American novel when people are just going to make paper airplanes out of it? Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? Real serious, thank you for that. Without getting too much into the whole culture war stuff, isn't this kind of what Sweet Baby Inc. used to do as well, narrative consulting? It's my understanding that they did a lot of different things, or do. I don't know if they still exist in the same capacity. I mean, they seem to have kind of disappeared, or at least publicly disappeared. But they did a lot of narrative consulting. What they primarily seemingly did was that they would go to like the studio, and the studio would describe like the game's story and the characters and stuff, art design, character designs. And then they would say, yeah, but what if you did this? What if you took this character and gave her an afro? What if you took this character and made them like talk about student loans all the time? Like they basically go in and try to make the cast or the script more diverse and more modern, I guess, quote unquote. But the problem with discussing like the Sweet Baby Inc. stuff is that it's really hard to figure out to what degree they actually had impact. Like I tried to talk to people who worked on teams that Sweet Baby Inc. said they consulted with, and some people that like worked on those teams had never heard of Sweet Baby Inc. So it was like the executives hired them at some point and paid them money for something, but even the people that worked on the game had no idea who they were, and they were like, no, they weren't involved. Which was kind of funny because a lot of the time, like, you know, they consulted on, I don't know, Suicide Squad, and it's like, yeah, somebody at Rocksteady is like, yeah, we didn't even know who they were when the news stories broke that they worked on the story. Like, we didn't know who they were. And it's like, okay, so it sucked just because of you guys? Okay. You know, they were the scapegoat. Now you don't know them? Okay, I guess it's all on you, I suppose. But no, I think honestly, like, there's a lot of consultancy groups. There's consultancy groups for like diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's consultancy groups that work for like accessibility. So they'll consult on games, offering advice for like how to better improve like sound options for people hard of hearing, how to improve contrast options within the menus for people who are colorblind so they can see and read the menus better. There's like consultancy groups for all sorts of different things, and they'll bring them in. They might give them a Friday afternoon to come and do a slideshow and talk to members of the team, but sometimes that's like it. Like sometimes it really is less impactful than you would think, and other times they're really involved. It's just kind of different every single time. It's not as simple as just, you know, this company worked on this thing, therefore it sucks. Like it's not that simple. And my stance was always like, you can look at a consultancy group and certainly recognize that a lot of the stuff they work on ended up sucking. But at the end of the day, it doesn't create an excuse. Like the Ubisoft that might have hired X, Y, or Z firm to consult on their stories, like Ubisoft still made the game, right? Like they still took the bad advice. Same with like Suicide Squad. You can point to like Sweet Baby and be like, see, they consulted on the story, that's why it was bad. It's like, it's the company still, like Rocksteady still made the game, okay? Like they don't get out of it that easily, you know? They still made the game. They took the bad advice. Even if the advice was bad, they still took the advice, you know? So it's why I've always been more focused on like the studio and less on the people that might have given the bad idea, because they still took the bad idea, you know? Anyway, back to this. Yes, this is circa like 2012, 2013-ish, it seems. And they're describing stuff that, again, today, I think a lot of this would be seen as like insensitive, which is wild, like crazy. But him even starting with, I hate stupid people. I think that would literally get you sent to HR in a lot of companies today, which is sad. But I mean, that's just where it is.
It's all our proprietary tools, and all those tools are all a part of the actual engine of the game.
So this is Oasis. It functions not only as a script writing tool, but it also has connections to all sorts of different departments, whether it's the AI or localization or voice design departments. It's sort of one-stop shopping for a lot of our narrative needs. I'll open up this tab, which is scripts. It's then divided into the single player main campaign and then the world missions or the side content. Then you can go down another level and it shows you all the different sequences followed by the different present missions and where they fall in chronological order. And then as you start opening these up, you will see what looks just like a film/television script.
They will develop the script, Corey will look at it, he'll write all his notes, and he'll often go page by page, and he'll do, you know, the whole arc, whatever people need help with.
I'll get the script and I will just sit down and try and read it once fresh, not touching it, not marking it up. And then after that first pass is done, I will sit down and it'll be like a more methodical, read through. And it's as simple as, highlighting stuff and writing crap in the margins. And it'll be anything from trying to find ways to shorten scenes, to fixing typos, to instances where plot points or narrative details might become murky or confused, and it's just whatever there is to write about, I take note of it.
And
honestly, and this is not me being sassy and like nasty, even if I love to do that. Truthfully, some of the scenes in recent Ubisoft projects, I'm not sure if they were ever reviewed by anyone, because some of it ends up being like kind of nonsensical. AC Shadows had scenes that didn't really make sense, a dialogue that didn't really seem to make sense, so especially like sequentially in terms of like the timeline of the game. You're like, wait, does that character know about that? Why are they referencing that? I'm not sure that's happened yet. Things like that. There were other times where like dialogue is just weird, like the Lucy scenes with Edward in Black Flag Resynced, where he's all of a sudden becoming a total pushover. There are scenes in the original game from 2013 where he is insisting like he's not going to just do something for somebody else out of love and care. Like if it doesn't make sense for him to do it, he's not going to do it. He's like, no, I don't have time for this. No, it's not my job. It's not my responsibility. And then all of a sudden you play the Lucy mission and he's like, I'll do whatever you need me to do because I'm here for you. And all of the dialogue ends up being delivered in that same like, yes, I'm happy to help you. It's like everybody is smiling the whole time and kind of smirking. And it's kind of unsettling, frankly. It's uncomfortable to listen to because people don't talk like that. It's the same dialogue delivery that you hear in a lot of these types of games where it's like, why is everyone smiling the whole time? What are we doing? What are we doing? If somebody reviewed that, it would have been like that. This is bad. But that's why, all of this is fascinating because like Hidden One said in the introduction to this post, it feels like nobody is reviewing this. It feels like nobody's giving true critical feedback because they fear like it might hurt feelings or something. Whereas in this case back technically like 13, 14 years ago, Ubisoft had a guy that very proudly was able to say, I hate stupid people. Nowadays he'd get sent to HR and fired for that.
They'll review it, and then the writer and the creative director, the mission level designer, those people will incorporate those changes directly on their own.
It's not my place to tell people what to write or how to write. It's only to offer my feedback and opinion on something, and it's really theirs to do with as they wish. I think it's important to let people decide what they want to do and how they want to do it rather than force it.
As a writer and as someone who has been up at 3 o'clock in the morning pulling his hair out, going, oh, he understands how hard it is to really put your heart and soul on the paper.
It's just so...
Well, and sometimes what you think is a good idea is not, and you need somebody else to tell you. One of the best like writing lessons and crash courses I've ever had is when I was DMing D&D for my friends. It's a crash course on it because you are writing a story dynamically for people. It's going to change and shift and evolve constantly as you play. Sometimes what you think is going to happen doesn't happen. The story plays out differently because of the actions of the player. And it's great because it forces you to think dynamically and to change things. But there were plenty of times where I thought, oh, this will be a really cool narrative development. This is going to be really awesome and my players are going to love it. It's going to be great. And then it plays out and it doesn't land. It doesn't stick. It doesn't end up being fun. It doesn't end up being emotionally powerful. It just, it just flops. And you have to, sometimes that's the hard lesson where you're like, okay, that didn't work. Let's figure out why, And sometimes the feedback can be harsh. Sometimes the feedback can hurt your feelings, but like you kind of need that sometimes.
Sort of taking all of the stuff I've learned and experienced and trying to find a place where I can sort of share some of those lessons with the other writers at the studio. Because I oftentimes felt like there was nowhere for me to turn during production, that there was no place I could go for help or guidance, or if I wanted someone to take a look at my stuff, or if I wanted feedback or advice. And so it's in some ways me trying to fill a need for something that I wish I'd had.
We've had a good response so far. I think.
So this next section is what Hidden One said. This literally describes the current state of Ubisoft writing. So listen to the next 20 seconds or so closely.
Actually, every writer has come up here at some point and said, I need your help. I would love it if I could show you my work and you could tell me what you think of it.
The idea is that we are here if you need us or want us, and if you don't, then that's fine.
The creative process, if it's done right, is terrifying. If you're making something that's safe, if you're making something that's just some cobbled together pastiche of like, oh, I saw Scarface and then I saw Lethal Weapon and I want to make a badass guy, and then you end up with like derivative crap.
I mean,
if you're making something that's safe, if you're making something that's just some cobbled together pastiche of like, oh, I saw Scarface and then I saw Lethal Weapon and I want to make a badass guy, and then you end up with like derivative crap. Nobody wants. And then you end up with like derivative crap. Nobody wants that. You want to be in a place where you're terrified and your heart is on the page. And in order to do that, and in order to do that safely, we want to give you a place where you can be absolutely terrified and know that you're going to be okay.
And get that feedback. That is fascinating. What a find. I'm glad Hidden One found that. That's fascinating. That is absolutely fascinating. I wonder, is Corey May still working there? Video game writer. Okay. Guess where Corey works now. I'll let you have one guess. Guess where Corey works now. Wild guess. Put it in chat. Wild guess. Rockstar, Warhorse, Bethesda, Sandfall, Firewalk, Valve. So it looks like he was a script consultant in 2026 on Black Flag Resynced. At least at some point on that, he consulted on it. Prior to that, he worked on a bunch of different stuff at a bunch of different little studios. But right now, all of your guesses have come in. Haven. You know Haven? You know the company Haven? Yeah. No? Hold on. I'm pulling it up. They're working on the most hotly anticipated game in the PlayStation library. Oh no! They got him. Dude, if it ends up having an amazing story, that'd be funny. After all this. Oh no, Corey, no. That's funny. What a small world. That is. That's funny. But what's weird is that so it says that he's been at, where did I closed it? Damn it, I closed it. It says that he's been at Haven for 5 years, I think. Yeah. So since May of 2021. So he's been at Haven for 5 years, but it also says that he was a script consultant on Resynced. So I guess like he did contract work. They asked him to look at the script for it. Or maybe it's because he worked on the original game. He's still in the credits. Maybe that's how it works. I don't know. But it looks like he's bounced around a lot. So you can see he worked on a few different things, but it looks like he left specifically Ubisoft in like 2027 or 2017, 2018, something like that. Yeah. Maybe he started his own thing later because he worked on Doom a little bit as a narrative director. So he's been all over the place. But that's funny. That's funny that that's where he ended up. What are the odds? That's crazy. Dude, Mendes Morales. Dude, if you could work 5 years without releasing a game and still get paid, it's not bad. It's a pretty good haul. Pretty good gig. If I'm being honest. Pretty good gig. Because who knows what the deal is. That's funny.